Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Or just welcome, I guess, depending on whether or not you've been here before. I've got something on my heart today, on my mind today that I'll offer real quick. Um, and It's a hot summer day, so the room I am in, the room I'm usually in when I'm recording these is a really warm room today. So I've got my floor fan here off stage. Blowing on me, which I'm grateful for. And so I've got my headphones in today because I'm told that they help with hearing the voice and not picking up the background noise. So I hope that's the case for all of you. What I want to talk about today is the 3 marks of existence and 3 compassion practices that are related to those. So I'm going to try to be brief because this can get heady and I don't want it to get heady. My heart is heavy, as I said today. I've got something on my heart and it's non-specific, I guess. It's just something that I'm hearing a lot from the students and the directees, Sangha members, community members, colleagues, people that I work with, people that I live with, people that I live amongst in my community, in my family. The heavy heart is a shared experience, I think, these days in the August of 2025 as we watch the nature of our culture, the nature of the fabric of our communities begin to erode as we watch the beginning of the end of an era in a national identity, and as we watch with increasing frequency matters that are human, matters that are about human rights, matters that are about civil rights be reduced to policy and preference and political parties and this kind of stuff. And anger makes sense, resistance makes sense, sadness makes sense. All these things make sense. So my hope is that you are allowing in what you are needing to allow in order to be honest, in order to have integrity with who you are and the world in which you live, to stay awake, to stay punched in, but also caring for the boundaries between yourself and the world and recognizing when something goes from just hurting to harming. Right? News can hurt us. Feelings can be really uncomfortable. Choosing to stay awake is not an easy choice. And there's also a time and a place when that becomes non-helpful or unskillful. So I'm hoping that you're aware of both of those things. Anyway, what I want to talk about is the 3 marks of existence. So my doorway into this talk is an ancient Buddhist teaching. A lot of you are going to know this one. Some of you will not. That's okay. I'll speak very, very briefly to it, and then we'll move into what I really want to spend time on. The 3 marks of existence are said to be distinguishing features of reality itself. I guess that's the way I'm going to talk about it today. You can do a search up on this and hear what other teachers have to say and how it's talked about in the Pali canon, the original Buddhist teachings. But the 3 marks of existence, the fundamental nature of reality from a human perspective. There's some versions of this and different translations that have different wrinkles and different feelings to them. That's fine. But the 3 marks of existence are impermanence, suffering, and non-self, in no particular order. I don't know that they have an assigned order or not. They don't really seem to matter to me what order they put them in. And there's a relationship between the 3. There's even a place where all 3 overlap and are the same thing. Sometimes it's even talked about as the same thing described 3 different ways. But that's what I want to talk about today. And I want to offer a short verse or quote for each of the 3, and then suggest that there is a Dharma, there's a practice and an insight that we can carry with us and use as part of our practice, right? A point of practice for each one of the 3 today. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. The first one we're going to look at is non-self. One of the three marks of existence is non-self. It's sometimes, the Sanskrit is anatta, non, at, and I'm not going to go into the actual, I'm not going to go into the language. I've just realized, forget it. I'm not doing that today. I'll go down the rabbit hole and won't come back up. Non-self. I think it's probably difficult to describe the real essence of this, and that's not the point of the talk, but non-self is different than not self. It is not a negation of who we are. It is trying to illuminate the truth that we are not discrete or abiding or separate beings, that our nature is interconnected nature, interbeing nature. This is sometimes talked about as non-separation, which I feel is skillful. It's just a way of saying, non-self is just a way of saying, hey, the thing that I think of as being myself, the thing that I imagine is separate and permanent and has fixed qualities and is abiding and is not you, is a relative truth or a necessary fiction. We call it ego self, small self, false self. Some of those words have a pejorative energy to them that I don't prefer. Non-self, instead of thinking of this as a negation, think of it as an affirmation of yourself as a being in concert with and non-separate from a much, much, much larger tapestry of being. So much so that when you dig all the way down to the bottom of what you imagine is a separate self, you find everything. Right? So yeah, non-self is seen as a negation. It is a not. It is a the nature of the teaching is the thing you think of as you isn't you. It's put in the negative. We're trying to take away an idea that you have about yourself. That's okay. That's a skillful teaching. But I want you to see the other side of it, because we tend to get reactive and defensive about the idea that I've just described. You aren't really you. Uh-oh, we get very defensive. And the part of us that gets defensive, of course, is the part of us that's identified with that self. It seems much more skillful for me to go, actually, the nature of my being arises with the nature of all other beings. My actual nature is connection, interrelationship, non-separateness. Right? So my pinky does have a separate existence. That's a relative truth. It's skillful for me to say, hey, I have a right. I have a finger on my right hand that I call a pinky. It's also very skillful for me to pull back and recognize it's just an expression of the body. Right? It isn't actually separate. It isn't actually permanent or abiding. It's just a function. Right? Non-self. So that's the teaching. That's the mark of existence. The mark of existence of non-self. Here's where I want to go with it. This wonderful little passage from Shinryu Suzuki Roshi. All of you know that name, or most of you know that name. This is my teacher's root teacher, so I feel a kinship with the teachings in that voice and in that lineage. He said, through problems, we will realize our true nature. When I am hungry, what I feel is what you feel when you are hungry. There might be some difference, but not much. And how you feel when you sit is how everyone feels when they sit. Strictly speaking, that is enough. Even if you do not attain enlightenment, if everyone sits and finds out how they feel when sitting, that's good enough. What a beautiful passage. Simple, everyday, plain, immediate language that points to something that's absolutely profound in its implications. So I'll read it one more time, and we'll talk just a little bit about it. Through problems, we will realize our true nature. When I am hungry, what I feel is what you feel when you are hungry. There might be some difference, but not much. And how you feel when you sit is how everyone feels when they sit. Strictly speaking, that is enough. even if you do not attain enlightenment, if everyone sits and finds out how they feel when sitting, that's good enough. I hope you can feel the spirit of that the way that I do. I find this really, really moving, especially because of how he starts. Through problems, we realize our true nature. Right? In very classic kind of Mahayana Buddhist fashion, he is starting with compassion, and he is starting with the Mahayana Buddhist relationship with suffering, which is move toward it, understand it, hold it close, feel it breathing, be in relationship with it. Right? Can you see how immediately pain, discomfort, dukkha, in this case, suffering, difficulty, is the Dharma door? Go closer to it. Through problems, we realize our true nature. So what he's doing is he's taking an experience that he is having, or that we imagine we are having, or that perhaps you are having, hunger, and realizing, oh, because I know this experience, I can feel what happens in my body when I'm hungry. I know how you feel when you are hungry. Do you feel what happened just there? That's the classic kind of one of the hallmarks of Mahayana Buddhism is, oh, suffering is shared experience. Because of my ability to have compassion, I can now relate to you. I know the nature of your experience because I know the nature of my own experience. And this is most profoundly felt and most profoundly realized through the experience of suffering. Of course, when I'm happy, I have some sense of what you're like. When you're happy and when I'm feeling joyous, I have some sense of, yeah, it works all the way. It works all the way with all experience. But he's using affliction. He's using hunger or the pain we feel when we sit or whatever as the connective tissue very skillfully, because compassion is not only the highest ideal in Mahayana Buddhism, but it's also the experience that we are so instinctively wired to push away. I do not want to have this. It is getting in the way of my enlightenment, right? The suffering is getting in the way of my realization. The suffering is getting in the way of my joy. The suffering is getting in the way of my love. The suffering is getting in the way of my intimacy. The suffering is getting in the way of my, can you feel it? Oh, he's actually asserting the opposite. Because when I read the headlines, my heart breaks. I feel fear. I feel anger. I feel confusion. I feel despairing. Oh, I bet that's how you feel too. Surely, in the moment that I am feeling heartbreak, it doesn't take much imagination to imagine I must be one of millions of people right now who are feeling heartbreak. Yeah, I can affirm the fact that, at least relatively speaking, my heartbreak is going to have a very unique little wrinkle in it due to my individual karma that I can call Busho's heartbreak. Okay, that's true. There might be some difference, he says, but not much. Because when you tell me about your heartbreak, we're not separate. So the mark of existence here is non-self. That means non-separate. Yeah. And so the Dharma here, the teaching, is the teaching of intimacy. And the key is what he's offering you is the way you touch someone else's experience, touch someone else, relate to someone else, become compassionate or intimate with someone else, is by realizing your own experience. If you do not allow yourself to experience your hunger, then you cannot have empathy for, let alone compassion for, someone else who is feeling hunger. Do you feel how beautiful the invitation actually is to use our own experience of affliction to feel the connection that I have with everybody else in the whole world who is feeling this, who has felt this, or whoever will feel this? Suddenly I'm connected to all beings. Every being has felt hungry. Every being has felt sad. Every being has felt angry. Every being has felt despair. Every being has felt alone. Every being has felt. So when he invites us just to sit and to really know what it feels like to sit is everything. Because you really do get, oh, when I'm this intimate with my own experience, when I'm unguarded against it, undefended against it, I understand the experience of another. That just makes sense. Whether it's sitting or standing or sad or angry or hungry, the experience is secondary. My undefended allowing, embrace, affirmation of the experience, that's the connection point. The connection between my experience and the connection between your experience are the very same. It's a rare thing to have an unguarded heart. It's a rare thing to be an unguarded soul, to allow anger, to allow sadness, to allow hunger, to allow, not to become, not to collapse into, not to identify with. Nope, that's not you, non-self. That's not you, right? But to be the compassionate relationship with the loving container, the enlightened container for that experience. Then can you kind of see how, oh, if I can lovingly be with my own hunger, I can lovingly be with yours. I can understand my hunger. I can understand your hunger. I can understand and be a loving companion for my despair or sadness or anger. So I must be able to do the same for you. So do you feel how what this is empathy exercise? It's compassion practice. Because you have a body and you know what it feels like when it's really hungry, when you read the headlines about people starving in Gaza, you go, oh, that isn't an abstraction. I do know what that feels like. I know what it's like to be hungry. So it doesn't take much imagination to go, I bet you the feelings I've had when I dial them all the way up to starvation level, my heart starts to crack open. This is not an abstraction. I have felt the hunger. And right now they are feeling the hunger. We are not separate. If I'm compelled to action, I'm compelled to action from a very different place. A place of connection, a place of empathy that becomes so deep, it can actually crack into compassion, shared experience. Beautiful. So, first mark of existence, non-self, non-separate existence. The Dharma here is the Dharma of intimacy. When I fully allow my experience, I fully allow myself to know it, to affirm it, to sit with it undefended, to hold it, I develop the capacity to do the same for you. I'm inviting you, as just a practice, in the coming hours, in the coming days, in the coming weeks, to notice moments of affliction, right? Because this is compassion practice, so there's got to be passion first, pain first, suffering first. Go, oh, this is what it feels like for everybody when they have this experience. Other people are feeling this way. Other people have felt this way. Other people will feel this way. I am not alone. I am not isolated. I am not separate. We don't ask the experience to go. We just ask it to remind us, I am not separate. It's a beautiful piece of medicine, right? Dharma is always medicine. So in the face of the teaching of non-self, we offer ourselves the medicine of intimacy. Okay, that's the first one. Second one, the second mark of existence we're going to look at is dukkha, the truth of suffering, right? Dukkha in the Buddhist tradition is particular to, or we kind of specialize in the experience that's unique to Homo sapiens, at least we imagine that it is, the resistance to reality, the resistance to pain, the constriction around pain, the part of us that wants it to be different than it is. Life shows up looking like this, and I don't like it, and so I say no. Dukkha is, or suffering is usually separated from or made distinct in Buddhist teachings from the experience of pain. Pain, ouch. Dukkha, I hate that it's ouch, and I wish it was different than ouch, and here's my idea about how it should be different than ouch. The resistance to the experience. Right? It's a no. Right? We're the species that gets to say, no, shouldn't be that way. I want it to be different. So in the Buddhist the central Buddhist teaching, the reason that's a mark of existence is if you're born with it, this is just the thing that you're going to do. It's also called the first noble truth. This is just a thing that human beings do. You're born with it. Everybody does it. It's a thing. It's just woven in to the fabric of human experience. The human experience is characterized, at least in part, by the experience of resistance and constriction and fighting what is. We don't like it. We want it to be different. Okay, so mark of existence, dukkha. Here, our medicine is going to be the Dharma of appreciation, or put differently, sukha. The dukkha is D-U-K-K-H-A in Sanskrit. Sukha is S-U-K-K-H-A. I think that's right. I think it has two Ks. Again, search it up if you want. That means the taste of sweet, appreciation, sometimes even bliss or joy, but it's it's not as simple as just pleasure. Like I like it versus I don't like it. This is a much deeper, the implication here is much deeper. The implication of dukkha is it's more than just pain, ouch. It's the almost cellular that it exists. It's a very deep resistance to what is. It's a very deep fighting, a very deep constriction around what is. It's a resistance to it, a very deep level, right? I mean, again, there's shades, of course, but sukha would be the opposite of. It's a cracking open into, a lack of resistance to. Can you feel that this is about constriction and resistance? One is an extreme this, and one is because we can appreciate, be undefended against even discomfort, against even pain, right? We can appreciate more than just stuff we think is good. We can appreciate every moment, actually, right? So our door here, the appreciation door, the sukha door, we're going to talk about it as love or art, right? Because art and love are words we use that describe a huge breadth of human experience. Music, dance, scripture, ritual, sculpture, pottery, poetry. It isn't always just about sweet things that are nice and easy and simple and pleasurable. It's also about some of the darkest, most painful experiences of human life. But art, love, rush toward both of those. Yes, all of that is fair game. We can fall in love with someone who's in pain. We can love them despite them being in turmoil. Some of our favorite pieces of art, some of the songs you put on repeat and listen to over and over and over are sad expressions of longing or heartbreak or disappointment, right? So we're going to use art and love as the words to describe the door of appreciation. That's the medicine. That's the medicine we need for our very human and universal tendency to say no. We're going to try to figure out where in here can I say yes. It's not a denial of what's happening. It's a larger scope of relationship with what is happening. So that I'm not just caught by my own personal no. I'm also aware of other things happening. Also, I'm saying it's both and, not either or. So here's our quote for this one, right? Tennessee Williams, the great Zen master. Tennessee Williams said, a lot of you have heard this, it's a very famous quote. The world is violent and mercurial. It will have its way with you. We are saved only by love. Love for each other, and the love that we pour into the art we feel compelled to share, being a parent, being a writer, being a painter, being a friend. We live in a perpetually burning building, and what we must save from it all the time is love. I'm going to read it again, just like I did with the first one, because these words are very carefully chosen and they're absolutely beautiful, especially seen through the lens of Buddhism, which is what we're doing today. The world is violent and mercurial. It will have its way with you. Can you feel in that? Like, that's just the first noble truth. Yep, it's hard. Suffering is present pain is present. That's part of the deal. We have very limited influence. We're very limited beings, and shit happens, kind of, right? The world is violent and mercurial. It will have its way with you. That's just an affirmation of what is. I'm sure you can feel that, especially these days, right? We are saved only by love, love for each other, and the love we pour into the art we feel compelled to share. Being a parent, being a writer, being a painter, being a friend. We live in a perpetually burning building. And what we must save from it all the time is love. So the beauty in what he is doing there, the absolute beauty in what he is doing there, is he's making sure that we don't think love is just the sweetheart, or love is just the preference, or love is our normal everyday understanding of the word love as strong preference or attachment. No. He's cracking that open. He's cracking it open to the point where he is equating love with art. He is an artist. It would make sense he would. And then further, he is breaking open the way we normally see art as, oh, art is specific activities that lead to certain outcomes, because it's, he says, being a painter. Yeah. Being a parent. Oh. Being a writer. Yeah. Being a friend. Oh. Can you feel how he's alternating between, yeah, this is the thing you think of as art. I know you get it. You think a painter is art, and you think being a writer is art. How about being a parent? How about being a friend? It's more than just romance. This is something giant. This is your life. He is bringing it into relationships. Even in the middle of the burning building, a building he describes as perpetually burning. Can you hear the first noble truth again? Human existence is characterized by suffering. Anybody who has read the Buddha's famous fire sermon knows he's quoting, I'm sure by accident, almost exactly the fire sermon. From the beginning, the world has been ablaze. The senses are ablaze. Preferences are ablaze. Eyes, ears, nose. He goes right down the list. The whole thing is on fire. It's always been on fire. For those of you who have read the Lotus Sutra, right, you know that the central metaphor is we are all living in a building that is permanently on fire. And so what do you take from it? What do you save from it? What do you look for? What do you embody? What do you become? Love. Through the art of relationship. Whether you're a literal artist in the way that we normally think of, or a much more metaphorical artist, when you realize, oh, my life is art. It can't not be. Something is happening as the house is burning down, as the building is burning down, something else is being generated. Love is a generative energy. It's a generative state. Life is a generative state. Life and love are the same thing on one level, right? Art, it's a generative state. Art and love and life are the same thing on one level, right? Generative, 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 generative. What he's kind of saying is, hey, in the middle of the world being on fire, don't forget who you are. Don't forget who you are. The house has always been on fire. The world really is violent. It really is mercurial. It really will have its way with you. That is true. But just don't forget who you are, because you're Buddha. You are love. You are art. You are generative energy. You are life. That's what Buddha is. Don't forget. Don't forget. Don't forget. Right? Not being able to operate a paintbrush does not prevent you from being Buddha. Certainly doesn't prevent you from being an artist. Wow, what a beautiful prescription. What a beautiful prescription. The Dharma of appreciation. All of us have found appreciation. All of us have found sukha in the art, even the art that describes some of the greatest pain that we experience as a species. Many of us have been moved to tears by the Pietà, or by Picasso's Guernica, or by the opera, right? Or by Hamlet, or by thinking, oh, there is a grace, there is a beauty, there is an enlightenment, there is a love inside of even the burning building, even the dukkha. How beautiful it is. And the responsibility of finding it is, of course, ours. So it's a very Buddhist quote. You've got to be the one to find it. That's very Buddhist. Yep, it's happening. It's always happened. It's always been happening. It always will. That's the deal. Don't forget who you are. That's your responsibility. Isn't that something? That's really something. Same thing as what Suzuki was saying. Yeah, your back is always going to hurt. You're always going to get hungry. That's the deal. It's your job to go, oh, wait, I remember who I really am. This is part of our shared experience. I am awakeness. Other people feel the same way. I get it. Right? It's our job to find the Dharma. All right, the medicine in the suffering. And we have to go toward the suffering to find it. Okay, so third one. I'm doing okay. I'm almost done. Third mark of existence is impermanence, right? Impermanence. We did non-self, we did dukkha, and now we're going to do impermanence. This one's pretty easy to understand intellectually. Everything is going, gone. Nothing lasts. Correct. Careful, astute readers will realize, oh, wait, impermanence and non-self are the same thing. Yeah, they are the same thing. It's just different ways of talking about the same thing of everything is going, gone. In fact, a lot of dukkha is caused by the fact that I want something to be permanent when it isn't. Oh, well, there you go. Right? So impermanence. All experience is transitory, right? Okay. Again, pretty easy to understand conceptually. What's the medicine? The mark of existence is impermanence. I accept that. What's the medicine? This is just the nature of existence. What's the Dharma here? The Dharma here is infinity. The Dharma here is interbeing. That, yes, it's true that there isn't a permanent, abiding, fixed, separate self. We got through saying that a few minutes ago. I get it, non-self. When we actually realize, you'll notice I'm pointing at my body now. I'm pointing at myself and I'm pointing at my body. When we actually realize that, what's left is everything. And the teaching of impermanence is meant for our ego. That's a teaching for our ego self. That's a teaching for our separate self. The part that believes it was born at a certain time and is going to die at a certain time, that it popped into existence and is going to pop back out again, right? You know that. We all have that. That teaching is designed to go, hey, nothing lasts, because relatively speaking, that is true. Why am I saying relative? Because impermanence necessitates the existence of time. In order for something to be impermanent, there has to be a thing called time, right? I thought that cathedral was permanent, but when I got in my cool little time machine and I buzzed ahead 1,000 years, it was gone. I thought it was permanent and it wasn't. But I have to have time, the idea of time, in order for something to be impermanent. And what part of me believes in time? My ego, my human self. I wasn't born with it. No one's born having the experience of time, understanding time, believing in it in time, experiencing time. We learn it. It's part of our conditioning. It's a necessary distinction. It's one of the dualisms that we develop. As we come into being, we have to discover the truth of our separateness and of time and of all the other stuff all the other dualisms that human beings accumulate, in order to then grow back into wholeness by unlearning all of them and going, oh, wait, those are all relative truths. It's not actually true that I'm not actually separate. There isn't actually time. So I don't want to get distracted and give the wrong talk here. The Dharma of infinity is just the truth of live in the moment. We've all heard that 1,000 times. Oh, be in the moment, be in the moment. Well, the truth is, of course, there is only the moment. There isn't such a thing as another moment. It's impossible to not be in the moment. Nevertheless, our felt experience is that of, oh, I believe in the past and I believe in the future, and I'm trying to stay in a little moment, and I'm trying to, can you feel it? There's always this tension that's created. So what we're reminding ourselves of here is the present moment where we find all of our existence is an infinite moment. And an infinite moment doesn't mean a long time. Infinity doesn't mean a long time. It means no time. It's outside of time. It doesn't have a duration. It doesn't have a duration. I know this sounds conceptual. It is. It sounds a little trippy, but you get to test this yourself. You're supposed to test this yourself. Look for the beginning of this moment. See if you can find it. When did the beginning of this moment start? When did it start? Find it. See if you can. See if you can find the end of it. When did this moment end? When will it end? Is it ending? How about now? How about now? Is it ending? Is this a different moment? This isn't just a mind game. This isn't just a clever trick. This is zazen. This meditation is no, wait. This thing that you so firmly believe in, past, find it. Prove it. Show it to me. Taste it. Touch it. Smell it. Even once for even 3 seconds. Of course you can. Of course you can. The edges of this present moment, as if it had edges. Show me the edges. Find the edges. Experience the edges. Do anything that proves to you that the moment has edges and you cannot find them. There is only the one moment, and it is an infinite moment outside of time. It doesn't mean we don't use the construct of time. It doesn't mean we use the construct of the ego. It doesn't mean you use the construct of the separate self. It's useful. I have my car, you have your car. I have my bank account, you have your bank account. I live in my address, you live in your address. Isn't that convenient? Yes, it is. It helps society function. Is it an absolute truth? No, of course not. Of course not. It's very useful for me to be able to distinguish this finger from this finger. That's useful. Are they actually separate? No, not in any real way, or at least not in any permanent way. Same with time. So this sounds like a conceptual thing, but here's where we're going to drop it into compassion. Because compassion, as I know all of you know, is being with suffering. It's an experience. It is not an idea. It is not an idea. It is an experience. It's the willingness to say yes to pain. I will feel it. With suffering. With suffering. Compassion. Right? So our compassion practice, the Dharma of infinity or the Dharma of interbeing here is, our quote is from Call the Midwife. Everybody knows Call the Midwife? If you do not know Call the Midwife, oh, for God's sake, go to the BBC, go to PBS, watch Call the Midwife. It's beautiful. There's all sorts of things we can complain about, and it's absolutely sweet. It's very, very, very life affirming, and it's all about life and death and life and death and life and death and life and death. They're midwives. Life's coming into being in every episode, and lives are going out of being in every episode, and it's about people who are very devoted to being present to those things. It's a wonderful show. Here's the quote from Call the Midwife. See if you can hear it. Sometimes we heal because we realize we did not break alone. The darkness was never absolute. The rain was never all there was. The scars will be beautiful. Bound by love, we will outlive the stars. One more time. Sometimes we heal because we realize we did not break alone. The darkness was never absolute. The rain was never all there was. The scars will be beautiful. Bound by love, we will outlive the stars. That's poetic, and it's also true. And I want you to hear it in both ways. It's very poetic. It doesn't sound like science. It doesn't sound like fact. But what I'm hoping is some part of you can feel, I'm touching my chest because that's where I can feel it. I'm hoping that some part of you can feel it's beautiful and it's heartbreaking and it's true. All the way true. Sometimes we heal because we realize we did not break alone. That was the first thing we talked about. My pain in my sitting is your pain in your sitting. My hunger in my body is your hunger in your body. My God, it's happening to our whole country right now. It's happening to our whole planet right now. We're breaking together. It doesn't mean the break isn't real. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt like hell. It doesn't mean we're not groaning and wailing in resistance, in terror, in despair against the horror of it. That's all true. It's just not happening to each of us alone. It's happening to all of us. So your screams are on your own behalf. but they are also on behalf of many, 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 many others. Can you feel again the connective tissue there? The darkness was never absolute. There's the impermanence piece. Everybody knows that one. We know it way more deeply than we think we do because we live on a planet that has day and night. All of us have experienced how many thousands, tens of thousands of days and nights, and colds and flus, and then periods of health, and then a perfectly operating wrist, and then a sprained wrist, and then being hungry and then not being hungry. Every single experience you've ever had has left. Every single one. You've never had a thought that came and stayed. You never had an emotion that came and stayed. You never had a physical sensation that came and stayed. You never had a memory that came and stayed. You never had a, right? If you look at the actual felt experience of your existence, everything showed up and everything left. Impermanence is impossible to deny. So the darkness never is or was or can be absolute. That is true. That's not an idea. That's more than just hope, and it's more than anything. It's just actually true. We are going into a dark period right now. It's increasingly dark. Every day is a little darker. That's true. Is that the new permanent? Nope, not possible. The rain was never all there was. We need to be reminded of this by using these metaphors of rain and dark and weather, because when the rain comes, it feels like it's always been raining. And I know when your depression comes, when your anxiety comes, when your despair comes, it's hard to remember ever feeling otherwise. That's how it is for me too. I know exactly what that is. All of us know exactly what that is. When you have the despair and the anxiety and the depression, oh, you're now connected to every single person who ever has, is, or will be that sad or that despairing or that confused. Right? But it was never all there was. The scars will be beautiful. Can you feel the beauty in the suffering? The scars are inevitable because the world's going to have its way with us. But the scars will be beautiful. Surely, as you're listening to this talk, you've had the experience of seeing a scar, I hope on your body, but if not, on the body of someone that you love, and go, oh, yes. That's the time that I fell down on the roller skates. That was the time I stepped on the broken bottle at the beach. That was the time when I had the chicken pox. That was the time when, right? To be able to actually see it as a line on the map of your life, it's beautiful. To feel how your appreciation, your sukha, embraces, goes, yes, you too, you're included. And then finally, the affirmation, bound by love, we will outlive the stars. Here, the stars are something that exists in time, right? And we live in an age of science. So all of us know that stars live millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years. But love is outside of time. Outside of time. It doesn't know time. It doesn't know the taint of time. It doesn't know the touch or the smell of time. How could it? So of course, love outlives the stars. The medicine for the mark of existence that we call impermanence is the Dharma, the medicine of radical interbeing. In other words, non-separateness of everything forever, infinity. The antidote for time is no time. Right? I hope that these three things make sense to you. If you're curious about the teachings that Buddhism calls the three marks of existence, you've got access to the internet. Dig around a little bit, see what you notice. Spend some more time with the quotes that I offered from Suzuki and that I offered from Tennessee Williams and our wonderful friends at Call the Midwife. I wish I knew who wrote that episode. Most importantly, spend time with your suffering. Compassion practice, which is what we're talking about, is life practice. It is the part of you that knows that you are Buddha, you are life, you are absolute, You are transcendent. That is your nature. It always has been. And while you are here, while there is a body to witness, while there is a breath to take, while there is a heart that beats inside of a body that you are the steward of, you have an opportunity to feel very, very deeply the intensity, the vividness, the vitality of human life. And one of its hallmarks is agony. One of its hallmarks is despair. One of the hallmarks of human life is suffering. It is sacred. We are moved to action. We are moved to care for one another, to protect one another, to speak up against that which is not kind, that which is not true, that which is not loving, that which is not compassionate, that which is not wise. That is our bond. That is our responsibility. But we never want to let that separate us from the fact that the entire container of that human experience you are having, who you really are, is one of adoration and appreciation, radical intimacy. There's the relationship, the fundamental relationship. I will care for this human experience, this ever so fleeting human experience, with a part of me that it's in no way bound by it. I'm awfully close to it, but I'm not bound by it. And so I have an opportunity to fall in love with it, even when it's heartbreaking. I will. That's my vow. That's your vow. That's all of our vow. Right? So that's what I have for you. I was hoping for a 30-minute talk. It was more like a 45-minute talk. That's what has a tendency to happen. Zen teachers talk too much. I'm guiltier than the rest of them of doing that very thing all too often. But I certainly appreciate your practice. Certainly appreciate your attention. If you're still listening, something in you must be speaking to you, or else you wouldn't still be listening. It's not about me. It's not about the teaching. It's not even about the ideas of being a Buddhist or the ideas of being compassionate. There's some part of you that recognizes what truth is and what truth isn't and wants to wake up to it. So thank you for that. That's the part that outlives the stars. I recognize it, just like you recognize it. How beautiful that is. So thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your kind practice. See you again soon. All right. See ya.